Hello, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be doing Iron Man Becomes Doctor Doom by Comics Explained reaction. Now, with the whole announcement of Tony, or not Tony, Robert Downey Jr. being Doom, I thought this was a good thing to cover at the time, as it's both relevant and something I never knew about and saw and want to get into. So, let me just say now, I do know Marvel lore somewhat. I'm not a master in it. I don't know everything per fact, but I do know a lot of it. I do know a lot of origin stories. I do know a lot of side stories, some of the Secret War stuff, some of the on the Conquer stuff, some scalings, some power scalings, some higher beings. I know how the top five Living Tribunal, Death, Eternity, the one above all, and I do not remember who else. I'm pretty sure Lucifer is also scaled here, or is that DC? I think that might be DC. I think that's DC. Yeah, I think that's DC. I don't think this is... I know a little bit about DC, but sometimes I get them a little bit mixed up. A little bit, some beings. But I do know some of the... I know some of the lore. So I'm not gonna go in this completely blind, but this is a story I never actually heard about. As for Doctor Doom, I actually don't really know too much about him. I just know some information about him, just that he's a genius. He has diplomatic immunity because he runs a country. And that's about it. So without further ado, let's get right into this. Yeah.
So as most of you guys are aware by now, at San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel announced that Robert Downey Jr. is returning as Doctor Doom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they're using one of two stories as a basis for this. The first one is Infamous Iron Man, which we've already covered. The second one is this story. So this is an alternate reality story. It's part of Marvel's What If run. And this opens up with Tony Stark arriving at college, only for us to find out that instead of the main Marvel universe playing out the way that it did, where Doctor Doom was roommates with Reed Richards, Doctor Doom is roommates with Tony Stark. You guys can obviously see where this is going.
Oh, so the cool thing about... so instead of being with the fucking narcissist Reed Richards, he's gonna be with the absolute playboy pride asshole Tony Stark. That's gonna go so well.
About this is that this basically shows us Tony Stark as we know him, right? He's a playboy. Doesn't really take anything seriously. The alternative here, the other side of this, is that Doctor Doom is far more focused than Tony Stark is. And in fact, he even says that, right? As a transfer student, you might not be aware, the semester has already begun. Your presence in this room will be tolerated only if your priorities are in order. Is that understood? And so Stark's reaction is just like, I mean, that's cool, man, but like, my girl here has a girl of her own, right? Like, you looking to touch some naughty bits, or are you just gonna sit here and just be grumpy all the time? But in the days following their first encounter, Tony Stark demonstrates how smart he is. This is one of the funny things. Doctor Doom always comes up second to the various people that he ends up sharing a room with when it comes to him going to college. Reed Richards, Tony Stark, so on and so forth. And where Stark's just like blasting music and all that kind of stuff, one of the things he points out here is that Doom just needs to learn to relax. He says, let your back brain do the work. And then Doom asks him, like, what would you know about work at all, right? You were born into privilege. While I've had to fight for every grant, every scholarship, the burden I shoulder would break a lesser man, but my destiny is to lead. And that inevitability is worth any sacrifice. Now,
God damn, that quote go hard. That quote is damn, bro. That's a man with focused position, has a dream, and he will do anything to achieve it. I gotta respect that, honestly. Goddamn.
This establishes that Doctor Doom's history within this universe is almost identical to his history in the main Marvel universe, and that concept was basically being carried over here from Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four when they established that in every reality, Doctor Doom ultimately tries to seize absolute power, and the only way to really fix him is to essentially lobotomize him, and that's it. That's all you can really do. But Tony Stark here kind of plays the Tony Stark game, right? He says, maybe, but keeping your focus among other things so tight can lead to mistakes. Like the proton coefficient in your formula there should be cubed, not squared. And Dr. Doom kind of gets a little pissy about this, about the fact that he's being shown up. But at the end of the day, what we end up finding out and what we're told here is that this irritation that Victor Von Doom has for Tony Stark ultimately leads to a kind of grudging respect, where Victor Von Doom looks at Tony as a man who's kind of his equal. And that's one of the most important things to understand.
That's cool.
That's cool. To Dr. Doom in Marvel Comics. Yes, he puts off a lot of bravo. Yes, he does all kinds of crazy stuff. Dr. Doom really cares more about intelligence than anything else. Bravery to a degree, but intelligence is at the top of the list. And so what happens is Doom leads Tony Stark down into this basement where things are pretty seedy. And he says, I'm afraid I have a confession to make. The late nights I said I've spent in the library is a lie. I've actually been here. And where Stark is just kind of like the storage annex, like there's nothing down here but rats and old books. The response of Doom is, exactly. That's why I came down here. I've learned that my current scholarship may not be renewed. In hopes of saving my education, I've been forced to take rather extreme measures. And what he says is really interesting here. He says, I've borrowed apparatus from other labs, even falsified administrative vouchers to secure equipment that I need. A risky endeavor, but it's worth it if I succeed. Now, this is also the nature of Dr. Doom. Whatever it takes to win. Dr. Doom can be incredibly petty in Marvel Comics. If you don't believe me, go check out the videos that we did on Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, the events leading up to the collapse of the multiverse in Secret Wars 2015, where he basically refuses to help Namor because he doesn't want to be second best. It's kind of nuts, right? It's kind of crazy. But the thing that Stark says is like, you're going to be expelled here, man. And again, Doom says, not if I succeed. When complete, this machine will trigger dormant telekinetic abilities, allow people to move things with their minds. Imagine what that would mean to quadriplegics, the infirm, to say nothing of the university's publicity office. And that's really the smart move. You can get away with a lot at a university if your actions ultimately make the university look good. Believe me, I used to work at one.
Oh, wow.
You'd be amazed the kind of thing that universities will sweep under the rug if it makes them look good at the end of the day. But he says, time is short. I was hoping that perhaps with your help. And Stark initially rebuffs it, right? He's like, dude, you've been nothing but a jerk to me since I got here, right? Since you first met me, you've been nothing but rude to me almost every single step of the way. Sure, you respect me, but you respect me begrudgingly. And now you expect me to put my future on the line for this kind of crazy cockamamie experiment that you have, and you don't even know if it's going to work. The response of Doom, it was difficult enough to ask Tony, please do not make me beg. And one of the things about Tony Stark is, as most of you guys figured out from the MCU, he's a relatively honorable guy. And when I say honorable, I mean, you know, he does some really questionable stuff at times. But at the end of the day, he usually tries to make it up to you if he's somehow done you wrong. And this is the exact same thing that happens here. I'd never ask you to beg. That's not who I am. And so we're told that over the course of days, these guys start working together, right? Two students train their full concentration on the task at hand. Progress is steady, if not without incident. And so again, it's a kind of back and forth because Stark is basically following the instructions of Doom. Tell me where this needs to go, I will put it there, that kind of a thing, because at the end of the day, it really is Doom's entire project. Stark knows what to do, right? But it is Doom's project. And so what Doom says here is like, ignore that particular device that you have. It's simply a reciprocal power boost. I'll explain more once the patent has cleared. And so the response of Stark, wow, brilliant and paranoid, you're some piece of work. And so finally, they finish this entire project. Stark sits down because he's going to be kind of test bed here. And why wouldn't you, right? If there were an experiment that you could undertake that could give you telekinesis, and the downside to the experiment is that nothing could go wrong, then why wouldn't you do it? Worst case scenario, you just stay the same. And so what ends up happening is that restraints kick in. They lock Tony Stark in place. And then he's like, what in the world is going on? The response of Doom, oh, it's one of these things in case you prove to be dangerous. And then he basically tells the truth about what's going on. I'm almost sorry you've been a satisfactory assistant, but this seemed the only way to secure the resources I require. Resources you take for granted. It's really quite simple. Remember that circuit you questioned? It will indeed redirect mental energy from your cerebral cortex into mine. mind.
Oh.
Telekinesis was a ruse, a
He's
carrot
taking
to
his
dangle
brain?
before your naive ambition. But with one touch of a button, our minds will switch bodies and everything that you have will be mine. Now, this is the big difference between this story and Infamous Iron Man. Infamous Iron Man was just Dr. Doom taking up the mantle of Iron Man following the death of Tony Stark at the end of Civil War II, the story the character assassinated Carol Danvers. In this story, Victor Von Doom is stealing the body of Tony Stark. They're swapping
petty as
places.
fuck.
But the fact
To
is,
say the least.
right, the process goes off without a hitch. Security guards come running in because they're alerted to all this craziness that's going on. Victor Von Doom emerges in the body of Tony Stark and says, you know, it was some crazy cockamamie experiment that he had. He said he was trying to help people. He forced me to be a part of this. Of course, they take the side of who they think is Tony Stark because one, he's a super rich guy, right? The halo effect. And two, because Victor Von Doom's not awake. He can't tell anybody what was going on. Not only that, it wipes his memories. So for the rest of this video, I'm just going to use the names Tony Stark and Dr. Doom. Just know those names are switched. And so what you do, as with pretty much all What If stories,
I'm following
you follow
along.
the
I'm following
Watcher,
along.
where he says questions become answers, even as solutions yield more riddles. And two lives briefly joined by chance part once more, following separate paths into an unmapped future. The young man who was once Tony Stark arrives on Latverian soil in exile and disgrace. With no money, no memory, he also finds no hope. As an ocean away, Victor Von Doom, in the body of Tony Stark, breathes freedom, reveling in his
That's crazy, bro. I'm getting my extra scholarship, I swear.
new body, the doors it will open, the position it bestows, a position of honor, opportunity, and power. Now, this is the best possible scenario for someone like Victor Von Doom, being able to operate behind the scenes. No one wiser to the fact that he's taken over the body of somebody else, but all the resources that it grants him, the technology, the whole 9 yards. Because again, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Dr. Doom, what makes him so powerful is the fact that he's this perfect merger between technology and magic. Not science and magic, technology and magic, which I guess depending on how you look at it, the two are one and the same, science and technology. But the fact is, right, he merges those two things and is able to achieve a wide array of capabilities. And so we're told, weeks pass, one life spirals downward, confusion and despair, freeing inner demons. Hence the reason why this story is called What If? Demon in an Armor. It's based off the old Demon in a Bottle storyline, really in name only. And we're told, until untapped and perhaps unrealized metal rises at last to confront those demons, to simply tell them no. A word which is heard with increasing annoyance by quote-unquote Tony Stark, most often from a father who cannot understand why his only son has become so distant, so insistent on control. An unfortunate and never fully explained industrial incident soon follows, and no is heard no more.
Oh my god, he killed Howard Stark. He killed Tony Stark's dad. That is so fucked up. Oh my god, you control freak. You control freak.
Stark was murdered, right? I mean, that's obviously the implication here. Right? And so we're told months become years as obstacles loom and challenge. Menial jobs pay for squalid lodgings, while tireless study earns respect and coveted scholarships. Now, here's the coolest thing about Tony Stark, right? Those of you guys who came from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that's your perspective of Tony Stark, right? You're not overly familiar with his character in the comics. You're not far off. But you're really not far off. Tony Stark is one of those guys where the worst thing you could possibly do is back him into a corner, because then what he's gonna do is he's gonna make you a project and he's gonna go to work on you. He'll go after you and anybody that you ever met, right? That guy can be super hard.
Like an HHD, he's gonna hyper focus on a man. I might be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that.
Or when he wants to. And that's exactly what's happening here. Even though Tony Stark is trapped in the body of Victor Von Doom, he still has all his intelligence, but more so than that, now he got purpose and meaning, and that's what really makes him dangerous. And so what we're told is that with this new drive and motivation, the result is a PhD, the first of several, as the man with no memory, the man fate would seek to dismiss, becomes Dr. Victor Von Doom, while the man who had abandoned his own quest for titles pursues a different goal, molding his own life through intimidation, extortion, and means less subtle. Ideas, flow like quicksilver from a brilliant, if wounded mind, medical advances, enhanced safety apparatus, fuel-efficient engines, patents make the inventor a wealthy man, and that wealth is funneled into economic growth, making Latveria free and strong.
That's kind of crazy.
Takes many forms, and the man who would be Stark seeks them all. An obsession, and in consuming, devours all remnants of conscience, a circumstance that will have resounding consequences. It's really cool the way this plays out, because what it effectively tells us is Victor Von Doom, operating in the body of Tony Stark, basically does whatever it is he needs to do in order to win. Borrow, steal, and kill. Of course, he wouldn't beg, but the fact is, he is burning bridges everywhere he goes. He is ruthless and he is relentless. On the other side of the world, Tony Stark, in the body of Victor Von Doom, is really more of a philanthropist, right? He's pursuing goals that make the world better. And the reason why all this matters is because, as Victor Von Doom is told, Tony Stark out in Latveria and all this philanthropic work that he's doing, it's chipping away at Stark Universal's profit, and it's been doing it for years. And their latest energy advance, the development of the arc reactor, could be the last straw, right? Infinite energy forever. It would destroy every energy company that exists out there, and it would hit hard any company that has at least a good chunk of their resources devoted to energy development. And so we end up finding out that basically Victor Von Doom has spies out in Latveria, spying on what Tony Stark is doing, sending information back. It's not enough that they can steal plans, right, or anything with regards to the arc reactor, but the fact is, Victor Von Doom makes the decision that the only thing he can do is just direct espionage, to take this new battle suit that he's developed, which is essentially the Iron Man armor that he was going to sell to the US military, but ultimately doesn't, don this thing, travel to where Tony Stark is at, and then literally obliterate the arc reactor, right? Just destroy the thing on the spot. And
that's so sad, man. Doom, I had more respect for you
that's
than
exactly
that. Come
what
on, man.
happens.
Be a man.
The problem
Science.
here is that, of course, Tony Stark has guys inside Doctor Doom's offices, right? He has guys reporting back to him. So he finds out Doctor Doom intends to launch an attack. He doesn't know the details of it, but he knows one is coming. And that's where you switch over to him with what is in effect a Doctor Doom battle armor suit, but of course with Iron Man colors. And he says, this rescue suit may be of traditional Latvian design, but its composite elements are cutting edge. Puncture resistant, polymer reconstruction, flame retardant cape for protecting the injured. Emergency crews will be able to work in complete safety in hazardous environments, from chemical spills to explosions. And so when you switch over to Tony Stark, he's none the wiser to the fact that this attack is coming, right? He's just sort of showcasing this new suit that he's developed for himself, right? The rescue suit, that it may be of traditional Latvian design, but its composite elements are cutting edge. But in the middle of this exposition, somebody comes running in and basically says, we're under attack, we're being hit at the arc reactor. This of course leads to Tony Stark activating the suit and then in turn going out into the field. Now, one of the things that he does make a comment about is that this suit was not designed for offense. It was not designed to attack. It's not a battle suit, right? It's literally just a suit of protection. It's defensive, but still it has all the capabilities that it needs to be able to protect itself. And so when he takes this suit out there, he comes face to face with Doctor Doom, and it's cool. What happens is that Doctor Doom relishes in everything that's been happening, right? He says there are many things you do not expect, but that's another story. As for your precious arc reactor, I've downloaded the key technology into my battlesuit. Much more practical than trying to extract it from rubble, because he literally blows the facility to pieces, right? There's nothing left of this arc reactor technology short of what is in effect this super advanced thumb drive that's in Doctor Doom's possession. Following that, he goes to leave, right? He says you can always rebuild, of course, but by then the Stark version will have cornered the market. This was almost too easy. Now, for a moment, Tony Stark gives off this impression that he's almost just kind of ready to roll over, right? Just roll over, take it, and just kind of accept his fate. But he doesn't, right? He finds that metal in him and he says, magnetism. Attractor beams were meant to lift debris from collapsed buildings, but they should work just as well on Stark's metal
he's gonna
armor. And of course,
him.
he fires it off. But with Doctor Doom's suit basically being this battle armor, right? This offensive suit, it just starts firing off rockets. Which which is kind of cool. But again, you get this kind of back and forth and back and forth. But Dr. Doom just kind of ridicules this guy, right? He says, you should have let me leave, then I would have let you live. Your protective shell is formidable, but it's wearing down. And all I need is to make a single hole. But all I needed was to lure you close enough to do this, and fires off an energy blast that hits Tony Stark and sends him flying. More rockets come in. I mean, it's a full-on assault, right? Like bullets coming in. I mean, it's kind of a War Machine Iron Man hybrid with the suit of armor. But then Tony Stark picks up on something. He realizes this suit is able to react at lightning speed, almost as if it follows his thoughts. And that's when he realizes the suit itself taps into the brain of Victor Von Doom. So all he has to do is duplicate the frequency, override his mental commands. And that's exactly what he does.
The suit. Oh my god, it's so smart.
Activates the rockets in the back of the suit and blows the thing to pieces. Following that, Tony Stark just kind of lords over Dr. Doom as if he's defeated, and the response of Doom, if you let me live, I will give you your life back. And that's the kicker here. Tony Stark didn't remember what had happened in the experiment. He didn't remember that Dr. Doom had forced them to switch places. He thought he was always this guy, right? He thought he was always Victor Von Doom, and Tony Stark was always Tony Stark. He didn't realize what his identity was. And that's what Doom tells him. That experiment in college, the one that cost you your memory, it was not your doing, but mine. The machine...
Nah, you should just let him rot. Don't care. You already made a new life for yourself. And you should be fine with this life. You're doing as good, if not better, for the world. And our better person here than you were is Tony Stark. So I think it's better if you remained as, you know, Von Doom.
I tricked you into using switched our minds, but that can be corrected. Grant me amnesty, asylum, and I'll testify to the truth. You can have everything back. Stark Universal, your family legacy, your name. And the response of Tony Stark here, why would I want that name? Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Sure, you have taken my body, and the world believes you to be Tony Stark, and they believe me to be Victor Von Doom. But what's the name of Tony Stark in this world? It's a name that is synonymous with greed, cruelty, and a lust for power. I don't covet that. The name of Victor Von Doom is a name for peace, for compassion, and for caring.
Yes,
so no, I'll keep the name Victor Von Doom, and you can spend the rest of your life in prison. And that's where the story ends. Here's the kicker, because I know a lot of you guys are looking at this and saying, but the good guy wins, and Tony Stark is Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom's a villain, right? Okay, cool. Imagine that the bad guy wins this story. Imagine it just plays out that way, right? Imagine that, like, Dr. Doom kills Tony Stark, and Dr. Doom walks away as the head of Stark Industries. Imagine it just goes that way. And that's your basis behind Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
Wow. Okay. That was my reaction to Iron Man becomes Dr. Doom. That was pretty good. I like it. I like it. Von Doom, I thought you'd be better than this, honestly. But you know what? That was good. That was good. That was good. Bro, Iron Man actually became a good person. I mean, he's not a good person. He became I would say humble here or something. And then what's the wording? He became a generic good guy, I guess. You know, just doing good because of good, because he didn't have his memory back. But I gotta say, I like this one very much, very much. I liked it. Definitely one of the better stuff I watched and reacted to so far for Marvel related. Then again, I haven't really reacted to Marvel stuff, but this is actually, I probably might react to more Marvel stuff. Yeah, I probably will, because this reminds me how good some writing in Marvel is and how good some stories are. And I definitely want to get into some other ones and visit some stories and stuff like that. So without further ado, that has been my reaction. I very much enjoyed it. It was really good. I enjoyed the switcheroo, and then the switcheroo. I thought Von Doom was gonna go to Tony Stark and then start doing good, but no, he went to Tony Stark and started doing bad. And I didn't think it would go that way, and I thought it was gonna be the other way. Tony Stark is gonna be in Von Doom's body and he's gonna go evil. But no, they completely caught me off guard with that, which is, you know, I enjoyed it. It's pretty good. Anyways, besides that, I'll hope to see you guys next time. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow me on my socials and on Twitch, where I live stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Besides that, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye, my lost souls. Bye bye.